So Ed, in terms of using natural light, what are some good tips?
Yeah. Well, you know, it's interesting. When I was starting my career using artificial light, I realized I was in trouble one time when I had to do a portrait of someone and I had to photograph them with only natural light, and I started to panic because I realized that I had become so dependent on artificial light that I couldn't even see natural light. I knew I was in trouble. So thank goodness I changed all that. And you know, today, and especially with these new cameras where you can shoot at confidently at, you know, 2600 ASA or 3200 ASA, let alone 1600,
right,
and have absolutely no image degradation. It has allowed me to use natural light in a way I never was able to use when I was shooting film. So that means that I don't need to worry as much about the level of light, the brightness of the light. It's more about the direction of the light and the quality of the light. And so when I'm looking at light, I am really looking to see kind of how it paints a scene, or if I'm looking at a face or an element in my frame, you know, I'm trying to use light to sort of etch it, to make it stand out.
Yeah.
You know, there's no one way. It's one of the magical things about photography is that there's an endless there's an endless stream of quality of light and types of light, and you know, and it's dictated by the time of the day or you know, the conditions of the atmosphere. But again, with the digital cameras now, I am so much freer than I used to be. The digital revolution has brought the darkroom back to me, and with color photography.
Right.
So that in essence, I've always said my first language was black and white, and then my second language is color.
Yeah.
And now I'm mostly a color photographer. Well, I shoot RGB.
Yeah.
Don't we all?
Yeah.
I mean, you're shooting RGB. You're not shooting black and white or color per se. And so in shooting RGB, that means that I can bring the sort of the values, if that's the right word, or the you know, there was a way when I shot black and white where I could look at a scene in the moment and go, oh, I know I'm going to have to burn that area in, or oh, I'm going to have to dodge that area out.
Yeah.
You know, that if I was shooting that same scene in color slide, it wouldn't have it wouldn't have worked.
Yeah.
You know, there's this way you could sort of translate reality with all of its sort of imperfections in terms of the lighting and so forth. And then when you got into the darkroom, you could make it beautiful and perfect.
Right.
Well, now I can do that with color because of digital. And I see photography as a series of variables. And my goal has always been to reduce the number of variables, because what I want to do is I want to focus here and here, and with my subject. And I don't want to be worrying about the exposure, and I don't want to be worrying about the technical things. I want that to all wash away and just be there in the moment and in a sense understand and almost like transparently document what's going on.
Your photographs really do reach the heart, and you get a tremendous amount of emotional impact. How do you do that?
Well, I think partly it's because of the person I am. It's just the kind of person I am. I'm genuinely interested in people, and I'm genuinely inquisitive. I remember when I was 12, 13 years old, growing up in the New York City area, and quite often I would be the kid who would be staring at someone until the point they looked at me and said, "What the hell are you looking at?" Because I'd get so absorbed in their face or some aspect of them. And this was before I ever took a photograph. So it's fascinating with anything you end up doing in life to look back at yourself and think, I was meant to do this, because I was always curious. I was always visually alive and sensitized to the world, that I really can connect with people. And I think also I've learned, I know I've learned how to physically handle myself, when I need to be small and to be humble, maybe be meek even, and when to be big and throw my chest out and point my finger. And I'm not always right, but I've learned this sort of chameleon-like way, this incredibly malleable way you need to be as a photographer, as a photojournalist.
Yeah.
In general, so much of this work is about like the human skills.
Thanks for joining us on
Thank
Advancing
you.
Your Photography.
All right.
Really great.
Take care.
Be sure to subscribe to our blog now to stay updated on my show, and we'll give you tips and insight to keep advancing your photography. Also, check out our guests' website for a closer look at their work. Tune in to our next episode of Advancing Your Photography for an inside look at another photographer's world. Until then, this is Marc Silber reminding you to get out and capture your own images of life.